Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey, peeps.
This week, we're discussing the legendary horror classic, perhaps? Zombie, also called Zombie 2, also called Zombie Flesh Eaters, the Lucio Fulci classic.
I think the one I saw said zombie flesh eaters versus the vegan zombies.
That is correct.
We do not partake of the flesh.
Starring anybody?
Some folks.
Well, the one that knocked my socks off is it's Mia Farrow's little sister. Did you notice that?
I kept looking. I wrote this down. Is this Mia Farrow?
Yes. It might as well be.
Is it Prudence?
Who's Prudence?
Mia Farrow has a sister named Prudence, and the Beatles wrote the song "Dear Prudence" about her.
Oh, the song "Dear Prudence" is about Mia Farrow.
I heard it was about her sister because she was so serious she wouldn't come out and play.
Oh, who's to say?
I think you're lying.
This is Tisa Farrow, her little sister, who was in a handful of movies for about like a 9-year period, and then that was it. She's a nurse in Vermont now.
She's like, screw this shit.
Screw this! So
Quite frankly, a lot of Mia Farrow's career was based on who she was sleeping with at the time. So,
Well,
don't get me wrong.
Hey,
get me wrong. Rosemary's Baby, but you would never want to be that character's friend.
Okay, first of all, she did Rosemary's Baby in the late 60s. By the mid 70s, her career, she was in an amazing disaster movie with Rock Hudson called Avalanche, which was covered by Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Netflix. Check it out. It is hilarious. It wasn't until
she hooked up,
right, when she got together with Woody Allen that suddenly, no offense, Mia, if you're listening. Anyway,
I think she understands. Because once they broke up, she ain't doing much.
That was it. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist, we hope. So good times had by all. Aaron, what's up with you? What's the latest?
Oh, I got in my pajamas at 4:00. It finally feels like fall. In fact, I recorded a TikTok just now. I'd washed off all my makeup. My hair is unbrushed. I put on my pajamas, but I did put on lipstick and a filter. So there we go.
Little constructive criticism. I'm not Mr. TikTok by any stretch of the imagination, as you know. People do a lot of like dancing and there's music. It's not just a close-up monologue.
I was trying to bring it in as close as possible. You're really more of the dancer in the family. Perhaps when we're together in November, you can show me some of those smooth dance moves
that the
chicks
idea.
All dig.
I've got moves. I got moves.
Like Jagger?
Like Jagger. In my class, we were discussing the breakdancing phenomenon of my youth. So there
of your phenomenon, or the fact that was going on while you were young?
I had parachute pants. That's all I'm going to say. I had.
Was that like a movie called Busters or something?
Yes, that was the movie. It was Breakin'. Yeah,
Breakin'. That was.
Yeah, it was called Busters. That was a different movie, I think. Aaron, pull yourself together and give us your 30-second synopsis of Zombie.
A stupid sailboat sails into like New York Harbor. Just as they do from the Caribbean, and lo and behold, it is populated with a very fat zombie who's apparently very messy and doesn't do the dishes. He then takes out part of the NY. I think they called them Coast Guard, yet they were dressed like 1970s cops.
Yes.
And of course, let me just put out, everyone's dubbed. So it always looks super ridiculous. Oh, but there's a note. So now we've reached the daughter. What has happened to my father? So they go sail off to some crazy island. Oh my gosh, there is zombies all over this damn island. There's some like a disease, but there's also the zombies where you get the zombie fever from getting snapped upon. And it's also a world where 400-year-old Spanish conquistadores rise up from the grave. I mean, they still got meat on them bones and they still got their snappers. So I don't know. But there are definitely some parts that make you retch and then you throw up a little tiny bit in your mouth.
Well, we have to talk about that this movie had a serious effect on your childhood.
Oh my God.
Lay it on.
As we often tell the tales, some of the most traumatic movies of my life were because I went to a boarding school that would, in the middle of Arizona, and on Friday nights, they'd drive to the next town because our town didn't have anything but a mini mart and a truck stop. So we had to drive to the next town and we would just see whatever was showing that night. So sometimes it was zombie. Sometimes it was the Andy Warhol NC-17 rated R films. Or quite frankly, I saw some insanely dark kung fu movies with also entrails being ripped out.
Standard. Pretty standard.
I think this was just, they called it, instead of like the Fox Theater or whatever, it was the Entrail Theater. So anyway, this so disturbed me, I almost threw up in the theater because of course I'm also sitting in the front row as one did in high school, where you're practically laying on your back to stare up at the screen. And then this was a slow burn because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to listen to like my John Denver 8-track or something to kind of calm down. I gotta take this trauma and compartmentalize it, and only John Denver can help me do that. And it's one of these things where then all of a sudden 3 weeks later, out of the blue, whammo, you get the dreams. And let me describe my dorm, where there were just these L-shaped buildings out in the middle of the desert. Like when you look out the window, it's just flat desert. There's the school, and way in the distance, you can see the lights of the highway and the truck stoplight.
What kind of school is
nothing else around. It's the wayward. It was for the underachievers.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. This
let me
tell you a story.
Is what you're saying. This is a whole different story.
Well, those son of a bitch zombies, nothing was going to stop them if they were coming to my school. That was my second year, we all dressed up like boys and went over to the freshman dorm. And we put on like fake mustaches after telling them, you got to watch out for the Eloy boys. Eloy was the town we were in. Casa Grande was the big city. So you got to watch out for the Eloy boys. They come to campus. So then we all just stood with our heads pressed against the windows, staring at them. People were getting dressed. Nobody noticed us. So we had to start banging on the glass. That caused a bit of a situation. People were not very happy with us.
Sweet Jesus.
We had to go run and hide in our beds and try to smear off our fake eyeliner mustaches. Huh? What?
Now, let me say this.
Did I go off on a tangent?
That was a bit of a tangent. I remember you talking about this when I was a child. So
this is trigger warning, deeply affected me.
Yes. Well, and I remember you telling me, and maybe this was a lie, that if our sister Megan heard the theme music to Zombie,
she would cry.
When did she see this?
I took her to go see it at the drive-in.
What were you thinking?
I don't know. You know what it is? It's like the Ring. I watched the tape. Now I gotta pass it on.
You do 7 days.
7 days. You have to make someone else watch this. Exactly. Did you see that there's some kind of sexually transmitted curse movie out right now?
There's another one. I know It Follows came out a few years ago. That was kind of like
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, yeah. Maybe I just saw that. I was like, how we never watched that? There's like, unless you go screw somebody else, you have to just keep passing it around.
That's It Follows. We got to check that out.
Okay, we got to put that on the son of a bitch list.
So I heard you guys talking about this movie when I was very young. I did not see it until I was in college. Until I'm like, you know what? This was my perfect weekend. I would go get a bunch of movies, order some pizzas. Maybe a friend was there with me. Probably not. I'm rolling solo with some horror movies. I'm in bed with a pizza. That's how I used to do. This occasion, I was hanging out with some friends. We rented Zombie. None of us had seen it before. And it knocked our socks off because I knew nothing other than there were zombies in this. Knew nothing. Yes. And then kind of a slow burn, not too bad, and then the eyeball scene.
Oh, I did not turn away this time. No. This time I watched everything.
You got to. We're gonna get into detail about the crazy eyeball thing. Here's the thing about all this stuff. I mean, you obviously went to some crazy grindhouse theater in the middle of the desert somewhere.
Oh my God. Let me just tell you this.
Please.
I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you one more story with that. After I saw it, I felt like I'd been slapped and beat up by strangers. I was like, how could they have legally made this movie? I felt like I was assaulted. And then number 2, they also took us to go see Halloween. And then the very next theater was Debbie Does Dallas. So some of us popped over to watch a little bit of that. There was a baby stroller in the aisle.
Oh my God. That is the most terrifying part of the story.
And it was a mainstream theater. We'd gone, I think we were in Phoenix. We'd gone to like the big city. And it was like Halloween, Debbie Does Dallas. I'm like, well, let's just pop in, see what that's about.
The 70s were an interesting time. And we've talked about this before. In the 60s, you really couldn't.
Okay, this was not the 70s. Let me just throw that out there.
Come on, this is
shut your mouth, 70s. Boy. I'm sure. I was 12, and I said, "Mom, can I go to the pornography theater?
I remember.
Can I have my 50 cents allowance for feeding the dogs, and then do that?"
But that was a thing. They didn't have ratings. Ratings didn't exist until the 70s. Prior to that, it was just, you just, because there was no bad words.
There was a code.
There was a code.
It was like everything had to fit in this code. It couldn't be too sexual. You had to watch your language, nudity, and all that. Yeah.
Violence wasn't that violent, all that kind of stuff. When the 70s rolled around, for some reason, they're like, okay, we're throwing that thing away. Basically, what it came down to is in Europe, they didn't care about any of this stuff. So they had art house films that they were making in France or Sweden or whatever, where it'd be like, a dramatic tale with just nudity.
Was it an art house film in Europe, or was it just a film? And then we called it art house.
Exactly right. It was just a film.
That meant there was nudity.
So basically, movie producers were like, we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back. All these things are coming. It's always Swedish. It's always French. Anything goes, and we can't do anything. So they tossed that out the window, and that's when they came up with the MPAA and started to have ratings. But there was kind of a foggy time where they're just like, is this, where do we put the X-rated movies? That's just going to be right next to
now they have the option of just not rating it.
That's a thing as well. But
it used to be like theaters wouldn't show it.
I think that's still the thing. Most mainstream theater brand will not show unrated movies. You have to give the parents some idea of what they're walking in on. Essentially,
we know what unrated means. It was going to be an X,
basically. Well, and the thing about it is that there was a time when X-rated just meant no rating. We're not turning this in. This isn't going to be an R-rated. So just put the X. We're not going to even worry about it.
Well, it used to be X for porn, but now we have X or not rated for violence, and that's disturbing. That's so true. What would this have been rated?
Don't even ask. Midnight Cowboy with Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman was X-rated. Did you know that?
I never saw that. Do you see Jon Voight's Ding-a-ling?
I honestly don't recall. Maybe it was just subject matter. No one knows what they're doing. Anywho, all right. We've gone off on wild twists and turns. But you're right. In England, they had the videos nasty list. And most of it were these Italian films that were just too ridiculous that they literally just banned them, essentially. For like 30 years, some of these movies were just banned forever. And then as time has progressed, some of these movies have gone off the list. So
interesting.
Well, and that's the thing. I did not watch as a child. I was totally unaware that these crazy Italian movies even existed. I didn't know who Dario Argento was. I definitely didn't know who Lucio Fulci was. Never knew anything about it. These were not in the movies that I was going to. But then you started to see some of them in your video stores, and that was kind of what broke the ceiling for me. So there you go. Yeah,
I agree, Brother Bear.
We're going off on all sorts of crazy tangents. Let's just jump right in with the highlights.
I will tell you, the soundtrack still fucks me up because it has that 4/4 time beat, and then it's just
yes. Often, I'll tell you what. Oftentimes, those Italian films, the Goblins or whomever, the soundtrack is always dynamite. It is like just the right hint of 70s flavor mixed in with
it's electronic and just made to F you up.
Absolutely.
Now, Kevin, speaking of soundtracks, did you happen to see what I texted you today?
I did not. I have you blocked, I think. What did you say?
I was looking.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
The soundtrack for the Human Centipede on vinyl.
And you bought it?
I did not. It was like $40.
That seems like a thing you would buy just to be funny. That's not a thing.
It was like a special edition with like a clear blue record. It was $40 is too much considering you would never play it, and two, don't even have to turn it.
Well, you would post it on the wall, but when people walk in, it'd be the first thing they see for the Christmas party or something. Anywho, give me your highlights. What do you got first, Aaron?
I will tell you the most chilling things besides I'll let you have the eyeball is when they just happened to mention that there were like 400-year-old Spanish conquistadors buried there, and then all of a sudden the hands start coming up out of the ground and grabbing her by the back of the head while they're laying there having a picnic. As soon as I saw that cemetery marker with the word Carlos scratched on the end, I knew we were in trouble. That's some stuff that really messes you up.
It's so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
It was terrifying.
It literally says this is from 400 years ago. There ain't gonna be no bodies after 400 years.
These dudes looks like they've been buried a week and a half ago. They were still fully meated up. And like with the worms were still sipping on. This is a tropical heat. Those things have been stripped to the bone by the bugs and the creatures, in a week. 400 years later, they're getting up. Although, did you see there was one dude who only his head was messed up, and then you just saw bare, regular, fleshy, pink shoulders?
There was definitely some of those.
We only had time to do the head.
The dude finds literally a conquistador's helmet just in the brush. He's like, "Whoa, what's this? This is interesting. I mean, this is like an archaeological relic. Let's be honest." And it's literally just sitting in the ferns over here. And not to mention, these crazy conquistador zombies were buried 2 inches below the surface? Like, that's
they just sprinkled some moss over their bloated bodies. And why were they all dead on this minute? Why were the Spanish invading this tiny island just to all die there?
Who knows what
the island's the size of a postage stamp, and it's filled with Spanish graves.
That is correct. None of it makes any sense. And again, multiple times in this movie, people know and acknowledge people are coming back from the dead and eating us, and they just always forget, oh damn, there's a dead body in this room I forgot about. How many times are you going to do that? Are you kidding me? In the thrilling conclusion of the movie. They're like, oh, we're barricaded in the what's got to be the lousiest hospital. Dirt floors. There's like flies buzzing. Do not go to this
hospital. There's just
hospital.
holes in the roof.
Right.
This is the tropics. It's gonna like rain once a day.
Yeah.
And I can see the sky when they forget to pan away from the ceiling.
Flies buzzing. Like there's extra fly buzzing sounds. It's like this is not a sanitary place. Anyway, they're barricaded.
This is some Apocalypse Now shit, except that was better built.
Clearly. Zombies are attacking the thing, and they're like constantly going back into the room. Oh, let me go get something out of the storeroom or out of my office. Walk in there. Did you forget that you left a dead body in there? I've been eaten. And somebody gets eaten and they just forget. It's like, oh, damn, I forgot. I forgot Jimmy was killed 5 seconds ago. His body's next to my leg. Really? You're in a room full of dead bodies. And you know that
it's only the doctor is clearly the only person who knows that you have to shoot him in the head, even though all his assistants see him shooting dudes in the head.
Yes.
Once the doctor's gone, nobody shoots any dudes in the head anymore.
Yes, that is correct. Multiples.
The best part really is when the zombies are attacking his female assistant and she just kind of leans back and exposes her neck. She's just like, F it. Go. Just take a snap on that.
That's cool.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Yes. The assistant and the native worker, the orderly, whatever he is, they're in there helping to fill up like bottles of kerosene to throw at the zombies that are approaching from the other room, ignoring the fact that there are literally 2 dead bodies in this room.
Let's not forget the fact that some of the doors are actually made out of wicker.
Yes.
So they're a little
There's a lot.
There's not a lot.
There's a lot of those.
We were worried about our parents' 1950s house with all the sliding glass doors. At least they were not made out of wicker.
Well, and how about this plan?
It was like Gilligan. You know what it was? It was like if the zombies were coming for Gilligan and Skipper. You might as well do what the assistant did. Just lean back and just show them your neck.
Just give it up. Because it's true.
Just give up. Take a snap.
And I love the plan of the zombies have breached the door. They're coming at us. So let's burn the building down around us. Really? That's your plan? You're in a damn tinderbox. You're like fighting in the middle of a haystack, essentially, throwing Molotov cocktails. I mean, you might as well just douse yourself with kerosene while you're at it. I mean, what is your plan? Not a good plan.
Exactly. I thought it was some kind of suicide thing. It didn't seem well thought out. And the flame, it's not like they're like, ouch, ow, I'm on fire, but I'm a zombie. They just keep walking. Right. It's going to take a while for all that fat to catch fire and do a good burn. I mean, when they cremate those bodies, am I racist? In India, when it's open fire, they gotta burn it for like 24 hours.
It's not easy. Let's just say that it's not easy. Let's go back to the beginning. You touched on this during your eloquent soliloquy about how the unmanned boat, sailboat, mind you, travels from this Caribbean island of Matol,
from the Antilles,
from Bermuda or wherever.
From the Bermuda Triangle. Yes. We're just going to make up our geography. And then reappears in New York Harbor.
Yes.
Just sailing full board. The sails are not actually open or catching wind, but it is booking.
Booking. Exactly. And then when they investigate it, they find like a homeless person's been living in there. Essentially. There's like dirty dishes.
Which makes no sense. One, when they were alive.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they at least throw their shit overboard? Why would it be paper plate on top of paper plate? Yes. Or did Fulci just have a little party there the night before and they're like, just leave
soda cans rolling around. Exactly. The zombies are drinking soda?
It's movie magic.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
always
it's movie magic.
It is damn movie magic. And at one point they look over and there's like weird centipedes crawling or whatever the hell those things are on the
not human centipedes.
Thank Jesus for that. That would have been a bridge.
And where did the centipedes come from? Please tell me. Are they already on the boat?
Could be. Who's to say? There's a scene. So one of the cops is quickly killed by the zombie. That the huge zombie comes smashing out of the toilet. I don't know what he was doing in there.
It's like Tor Johnson as a zombie. It was
absolutely Tor Johnson. Goes upstairs, and the second cop blasts him, and he falls overboard. Okay, so he's still around. Wouldn't you imagine? I mean, he didn't shoot. They never shoot him in the head. They shoot him 15 times in the chest without loading. And
sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But we're coming up to a masterful scene of cinema history.
Before we get to that, there's the scene they cut to the medical examiner's office, right? Because they're now going to do the autopsy on the cop that was killed, essentially.
Right.
So there's the old white guy and then the younger African American guy, and there's nonstop scenes of like, bring me the scalpel. He's like, oh, you're treating your scalpel like this? What kind of place are we running here? It's like, bro, is it necessary to be in a 2-minute scene just to be just a dick? I'm just going to establish that I'm an asshole. Good times.
So, like in the 70s, you used a scalpel and your assistant got out the grinding stones? Is that what we're supposed to understand?
That is correct. They got out the grinding stone from Little House on the Prairie, and that's how they sharpened the scalpel.
Pa! My scalpel, no.
Pa! Do you remember Olga with the one leg?
How can I?
Or they're not a one leg. She had like a club foot or something. Very sad. That was Kim Richards, by the way, from Real Housewives. And from Escape to Witch Mountain. That's neither here nor there. Go ahead.
So Laura played doctor and cut off her club foot? Is that what you're saying? I think
Charles invented some kind of weird club that she could wear on her other foot. So now she...
Oh, better that than the torture dungeon.
Better that.
All right.
Go ahead. What you got?
Well, of course, there's the great eye scene where the zombie is pushed through one of those slat doors. I hate those. The ones that allow the air to circulate. I think they're a popular thing in warmer climates. So the zombies, which are interesting because they're either super slow and shuffling, but then at other times they seem to be bionically strong, where they can just punch through the door and grab you by the hair and slowly push it until your eye goes through a chunk of wood and practically comes out the other side. And the whole time, and in graphic, oh no, it doesn't cut away. The eye pops, the retina detaches, slop oozes out. And the whole time I'm thinking this time is, why aren't you putting your arms up to stop yourself? It's like she's holding her arms behind her back and leaning into it.
There's a lot of problems with this.
Where your arms?
It's literally a splinter.
But
it is a splinter from
It's not a splinter. It's like a 2x4.
It's not.
But it's a splinter from breaking the door.
Right. They smashed the door.
It's not like a toothpick. It's a hunk of wood.
It's a hunk of wood, but she could literally, if the zombie's overpowering her and she can't stop her forward progress,
push it out of the way.
Absolutely move the spike out of eye range. Let's just say she does not. She does not.
It's another one of these cases of where they're just leaning into it. They're like,
Well, it's
my husband's a drunk anyway. Why don't I just pop my own eye out?
That is correct. Well, she tries to, like you said, it's this door, and frankly, the doors that lead like outside are also weird slats, where it's like it's not offering any protection for anybody under any circumstances. But so she's locked her. First, she can't close the door at first. Like the door is just off its hinges for some reason. Did you notice that?
Oh, that was a good scene with the fingers coming through.
Hand reaches through and she slams the door on the fingers until they just like fall off. Slams the door and she's like, oh, thank goodness. Then she hears banging on the door. She pushes over a chest of drawers or whatever to try to block barricade.
Like a dresser or something.
And then proceeds to just stand there. Whew, I'm okay now. Good. Bad move. You know you're not okay now. What are you talking about? But I gotta go back even further. In this movie, there are multiple unmotivated nudity scenes. The doctor's wife.
This is how you know it's super Italian. Let's go further than that. Scuba diving. The chick is first she's topless. And she's wearing just a string up her ass. The only thing on the swimsuit is a tiny little triangle in the front.
That's all
Otherwise, she's just rolling around naked as a jaybird.
And all of these people are supposed to be American. They're all supposed to be American. Yeah. And I'm as free and easy as the next person, but in America, that's not standard. I know we just met. No. I'm going to be topless scuba diving
in front of strangers. Way more oppressed than that. No question. This is way too European.
So there's that scene. And then there's the scene where it's the doctor's wife taking the shower, bone naked, with a mirror behind so you can see her butt as well. And
gotta see the arse.
And they pull back to reveal a huge picture window where she's like putting on a show for the neighbors. I mean, what is she?
Won't you be my neighbor?
And you know it's a huge window because you see the zombie, like the peeping Tom zombie hand up against the window.
Oh my God. Not a crazily masturbating zombie.
It could be. They didn't show that, but why not? So we got to go back. We're bouncing all over the place. There's the British reporter whose father purchased or uncle purchased the New York Times. Is that we're supposed to, is he the son of Rupert Murdoch? Who knows what's happening? And so he is now going to investigate the story. By the way, that was Lucio Fulci is the newspaper editor putting him on the case, which is why his dubbing was ridiculously horrible because he doesn't speak any English. So there you go.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's a good little behind the scenes.
He's like Alfred Hitchcock. You'll always, if you pay close attention, there's always one scene with Lucio Fulci going, "Hey, what you doing?" That's what.
Hey, Paisan.
Exactly. That's what he sounds like. So the British reporter's on the case, and he teams up with Tisa Farrow, whose father, I guess, the boat belonged to her father that washed ashore with the zombie on it. So they're on deck investigating, and they're like, oh damn, we're not supposed to be on here, right? The cops are guarding it. Oh, cops coming in. Let's make out on this death boat. Let's pretend to make out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On a boat full of rotting flesh and decomp, let's pretend that we're rolling around to fool the cops.
That is correct.
So much. If just the zombie juice alone.
Right. It's essentially a homeless crack den on its best day with zombie gore everywhere. So that's what they're going to, instead of just saying, "Sorry, officer, my bad, we're out of here," we're instead going to roll around in the viscera. Sound delicious.
No.
And he says something.
The stench alone.
You'd be yakety yak. No question. Mm-hmm. The British reporter says something along the lines of like, "It was all her idea, this making out. Last time it was on a boxcar." So he made some comment. It's like, what are you talking about? God. Okay. No more improv for you, buddy. This is getting ridiculous.
Womp, womp, womp.
It's a sad situation. What you got?
I don't know if there's anything else. The zombie versus the shark. Zombie versus the shark.
It's
never before seen in the annals of history.
Never before and never since. Frankly, it's like who even conceived of this? So that when the naked woman is scuba diving, there's a tiger shark in the water. She's like, "Oh damn, I'm gonna swim down," and out of nowhere, here's a zombo coming around the corner and grabbing at her and go, "Ooh, how you doing?" She manages to fight him off, Lord knows how. And then the zombie's all like, "I'm going after that shark." So now it's zombie v tiger shark. Ridiculous. You can't even describe it without going, who the hell came up with this idea?
It was awesome. At one point, the zombie is riding on the back of it, and then the shark bites off the zombie's arm. Yes. Blood is pouring out, and my thought was, they're dead. Why is there so much blood?
There shouldn't be any blood on the zombie, and the zombie bites the shark at one point, and there's blood there.
Oh yeah, you just keep seeing the zombie trying to get a mouthful. It's like a lamprey. Oh my God, it was so classic.
Apropos of nothing, because it's not like that zombie reappears later. There isn't like, here's a zombie shark coming to get you. Just a kind of a bizarre little interlude. And back to our regular schedule of programming. Good times.
They're like, we're on the ocean. We gotta have a
Why
shot.
not? Why not indeed? There's so to
This movie is so disgusting. Fulci does not miss a trick. Even when they wrap up the dead people with like sheets and rope, and as they rise, the doctor shoots them in the head. And of course, then there's always like a big hunk of meat that comes flying out at you.
That is correct. That is correct. The sad thing is, so the reporter and Tisa Farrow rope in some other American couple to give them a lift to the island. And I guess they said something that the tiger shark crashed into the side of the boat and therefore the drive shaft is damaged.
I wrote that down. Oh, the drive shaft, because that soft meat of the tiger shark would have broken your drive shaft. That just didn't sound, that sounded fishy to me.
I'm not a naval engineer. Okay, I'm not a boat mechanic. It seems a little strange. Good enough to get to the island. Leaving the island, little iffy. I have to say,
I was just wondering. The doctor just keeps shooting everyone in bed. So is every bed then tainted?
Well,
every bed is full of bullet holes, zombie juice.
Yes. Well, and
doesn't seem like a good.
And how do the other patients feel about this? They're just resting on. When it's constantly like, take Jimmy in the back room, gunshot sound. I mean, I have to say, bedside manner, clearly not a thing in this jacked up hospital, to say the least. We do have to talk about that it's very, very, very fishy. Unclear, let's say. Is it a bacterial thing? Is it voodoo? Who knows? It started 3 months ago with no explanation, and we don't know what's going on. Moving on, basically.
And yeah, I wasn't sure if they were just trying to find a cure, or like you said, if it's a bacteria, because they do seem to get a fever.
Right. Well, the doctor...
They didn't have a clear idea of what was happening.
They did not. They took a page from George Romero where they're just like, hey, don't ask. Don't ask. We don't know why. Who's to say? Could be any reason. But the kindly doctor is staying on the island to try to figure out, to find a cure or, a vaccine for this weird zombie affliction that seems to be infecting the island.
Don't let people bite you. How about that
But there are people who get sick who are not bit. No, none of the main characters, mind you.
But none of our main characters catch the disease. They all get it from being bitten.
That is correct. And it's causing marital strife, as we said, with the doctor's wife who headbutts a giant railroad spike just to end it. She's like, I can't stand to be on this island any longer. With zombies
and then he's just randomly drunk with a bottle, passed out on the ground in places.
Yes!
Remember that?
There are zombies everywhere.
People are dying. So he's just taking a little nap by the lake with his bottle of vodka.
He passes out on the shore.
I guess it'd be gin.
Yes, it could be anything. You live in a place where there are zombies roaming the street and you're passing out on the beach. To no problems. No problems at all.
So stupid.
I appreciate when he leaves his wife, he's just had a fight and he's going to go to the hospital. She's like, F off, get out of here. He tells his gardener / security guard / manservant, hey, make sure she's okay, gardener. I mean, it's like, do I get paid extra for being the security guard?
Are these like all victims of human trafficking? And like his house is the only real house.
Right.
Everything, it's like a house in Hawaii. Then every other house is like it was put together 5 minutes before out of things they found on the beach.
Driftwood. Basically, yes.
Or balsam wood and canvas. Theater Tech 101.
That is correct.
Junior high level.
And they keep talking about like the natives. The villagers have taken off. We never see any villagers. They talk about there's no other villagers.
They're just beating drums. They got a soundtrack from like a 1940 white
That's
zombie
correct. I walked with a
movie,
zombie.
and they're just
Yep.
playing it in the background. I walk with the zombie, zombie island, whatever.
Pretty much. Very sad. Let's see. There's a scene because the kindly doctor's like, "Hey, do me a favor. Would you go check in on my wife, who I abandoned last night to go into a drunken stupor on the beach? Go check in, make sure she's doing all right." They drive out there, and you see really one of the first, other than the eyeball scene, one of the really like gross zombie scenes.
That was one of the most disturbing.
It was yucky
because they were just all so. It was so that was the one I almost threw up in when I was. 14.
I believe it. Because it is. The wife is laying there with her eyeball poked out, with just 5 or 6
leg missing.
And it's that thing what they do in like Dawn of the Dead, where it's just like they have the actor lay down and then they just pour some shavings and kidneys
Viscera.
and whatever they got from the butcher's block and just pour it on them and go, throw a little ketchup in there, call it a day. And then the poor actors have to reach down as zombies and kind of pull up some just viscera and just kind of put it in their mouth and chew on it. I ain't doing that.
Rip.
I'm not doing that.
They pay you extra for
they
that.
Better. I better get at least
but
time
it was
and a half.
so disturbing. All the zombies were just sitting around crisscross applesauce, all kind of slumped over, just reaching out and grabbing and tearing.
And
that was the part I was going to lose.
That was a yucky scene. Now that you see,
that was and so disturbing,
very disturbing. You see the British journalist. He notices what's happening, and his expression on his face was just disgust, which may have just been the actor's expression, because it's revolting. It was truly revolting.
It is revolting. I can't imagine the smell.
Awful. Awful.
Oh.
They escape, and they're driving away, and of course, there's that scene where it's like somebody darts across the road, they swerve, and then hit the gas and just drive off the cliff. I mean, you can hit the brakes. You don't have to just keep driving until you crash into a tree. Very sad situation.
No, maybe you do. Maybe you need to crash into the tree head first. That's what you got to do.
Well, and then that's when British reporter suffers his gruesome ankle injury for no reason. I've sprained my ankle, but it's more than a sprain. It's like a big old gash in it that a zombie grabs later.
I just kept thinking, dude, I'll help you a little bit, but when it gets down to it, I'm just gonna have to let you go.
When it gets down to it, sorry, brother.
If we're all gonna go down, I gotta tell you,
that's it. The final confrontation.
No, but the doctor's wife getting munched on, that is by far that's the money shot. That's the money shot.
Because other than that
and the eyeball,
right? The eyeball scene and the zombies eating the gore are two of the more explosive scenes, if you will. Other than that, a few people get like bit on the neck. It's not that outrageous to me. I know you felt it was
a lot of spurting. The Italians like a lot of spurting arteries.
But it's honestly, it's Walking Dead quality as far as I'm concerned. It's nowadays
they were just ahead of their time.
They
were ahead of their time.
It's like, for example, I always talk about Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead. Those movies all have like 30-minute extended scenes where the zombies get into the mall or the complex or whatever, where people are just being ripped apart for 30 minutes. And you're just like,
my God, it's been so long since I've seen this.
But Zombie really only has a couple scenes. You know what I mean?
Because you don't need 20 minutes of just rip and tear.
You don't, but
Zombie has like 3 really good,
and that's all you need.
That make
it is a slow burn though. It's like the eyeball scene is probably 30 minutes in. Right. You know what I mean? It's like
you got to be patient with the bad acting and the weird dubbing.
You definitely got to be patient.
And then what was it? The New York cops / Coast Guard, they're going to get a bonus for bringing the boat in? What the hell is that? Is that the thing in Italy? Ain't no bonus for bringing your fucking job.
Well, it's like, what is it? There's salvage rights. Is that a thing? I don't know. Could be. They talk about that.
The Coast Guard gets to commandeer abandoned boats, but then they immediately found the daughter. So what
I'm
bonus
not sure
was
how that
were
works.
they?
I mean, if I find it, do I get salvage rights? But then you show up and be like, well, actually, that's my boat.
Not if you're a government employee and that is your job.
I don't know about
I don't think it works that way.
Who knows how it all works out?
That's like if you're a cop and you bust the drug dealer and then you find the money. You don't get to turn it in, and if no one claims it, then it's yours.
Help yourself, right?
That's just an episode of Law and Order. We've just written it right there. Boom.
Now, okay, we've talked about this before. Because there were times where I'm just like, I want a zombie movie that's relatively gore-free. There were times I thought that. Then I watched like Resident Evil, the movie based on the video game, and it's really gore-free.
Right.
You lose something. You really do lose something. You gotta have something. Gotta have something. I don't know if I need.
It has to be blood. They're eating people.
Right.
Otherwise, you're like, it's a Gumby and Pokey situation where there's just a cutout, like
your arm just falls off,
a scalloped edge where part of your arm it just lifts off.
That's absolutely correct. No, I mean you really do, to fully get the full zombie movie experience. You gotta have blood, and frankly, you gotta have some chomping. You really do. I don't know. Personal opinion.
I wrote down this weird thing because we say conquistadores because we're saying it in like a Mexican Spanish way. But this was clearly dubbed by people from Spain because they say conquistadores.
No, that's not how you pronounce it in Spain either. It was the most bizarre.
What the hell were they saying? I was like, is that how they say it in Spain? But then they wouldn't have called themselves the conquistadores.
Look, it was a bizarre thing. So you're right. It's like in America, you'd probably call them the conquistadors, right?
No, we would say conquistadores.
If you're trying to be fancy, you would say,
or you're calling them
los conquistadores.
The Spanish conquerors.
If you were trying to be really no, the Spanish conquistadors. You don't have to be all fancy about it, but no one pronounces it.
Well, if you're gonna take the twill out, you might as well just call them because you're saying Spanish. So why don't you just say the Spanish conquerors? Well, we're gonna start.
We are not. I teach. I've taught history.
And why do we say Spanish and then say a Spanish word?
What?
Were there other conquistadores? We say Spanish and English, but then we say conquistadores in Spanish. This is ridiculous.
Do you say Spanish or Armada?
Were there other Yes.
Why?
Because there are other armadas.
Right? Armada is a Spanish word.
Oh, boom!
Ridiculous.
I guess you're right. Yeah. All right, so now we're all going to agree.
No, we're not. I'm not changing the language that we speak to accommodate your madness.
We're changing the language. You don't say I'm going to go eat one of the Mexican tacos versus the Irish tacos. I don't know.
Anyway, moving on. Point being is that the jackass who they dubbed multiple times said conquistadores, which no one pronounced it like
I thought that was like the
that
Spanish.
Would be wrong.
Well, you don't know what they say in Spain.
That's how they say that in Spanish.
We'll have to agree to disagree. We can bring in our crazy cousin Jenny and have her tell us.
Agree to disagree. Anyway, good Lord. Do you have any other thoughts and feelings?
I have another comment. Nobody discusses the first time that we have a zombie POV. Carlos, who's risen after a 400-year-old nap, for a few minutes we have his POV as he's going after Susan or one of some of the numbskulls. I don't know.
There was that. She bites the dust. Naked scuba diver is that same thing as the
with Helen Reddy Fro.
Absolutely. I am woman. Anyway, she bites dust the same way that the doctor's assistant, the nurse, whatever she is, where the zombie's right there and you simply wait for them to eat you. I will just stand here.
I'm just going to lean back and expose my long neck and just, I don't know, put some mustard on it. I don't know.
Exactly.
Have at it. They're like, screw it. There was one scene, maybe it was the underwater scene. I thought somebody was going to get raped by a zombie. It was a little too legs wrapped around the torso. I was like, what's happening?
There was
zombie rape. We're not ready for that.
Absolutely
We're not ready for zombie rape.
You're right.
With just chunks, his dick just falls off.
Why would you even say that? Why are you bringing this up?
Because these things pop into my head. But I was getting concerned. I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like, what's happening now?
That was, if I remember correctly, that was the underwater scene where the underwater zombie basically is on top of her and her legs are spread. And it's one thing leads to another.
She was like wrapping him around. I'm like, what's happening? Damn Italians.
It always takes a dark turn.
Sex, it's always too far. Gotta sex it up.
Other scenes you want to talk about? Good Lord.
Oh boy, I think that's it.
Shall we go behind the scenes?
I've covered my 2 pages of notes. Yes,
I mean, make no mistake. It is utter nonsense, but I find it hilarious. That's all I'm saying.
Now, we would say this would be the Fulci pinnacle. Am I right or am I wrong?
I have to say, some may disagree. I still love The Beyond. I think The Beyond is more fun than Zombie. I think Zombie is a little too slow a burn, frankly. I think it has some iconic scenes, some outrageous.
It's very stressful.
It's got zombies fighting tiger sharks, and again, real tiger sharks.
Now that was a classic.
Scene, no question.
I mean, you got to give it extra points for that. That and just trying the zombie putting his mouth up against a clearly real shark and trying to get a teeth hold.
No question. Oh, no question.
That was fantastic.
We have to talk about that. Okay, behind the scenes. Since there was no CGI at the time, and the production didn't have the budget for fancy animatronics, a real tiger shark was used for the infamous zombie versus shark fight scene. Tiger shark.
Hey, Spielberg could have taken a note from Fulci here.
Just use real sharks. Damn shark was used in this movie, and it says tiger shark is one of the most dangerous shark species that exist. So the shark's trainer, Ramon Bravo, fed the shark right before filming, as well as doping the shark up with sedatives.
I would guess so. So was it the trainer was the zombie also?
What's supposed to be? There was literally a stuntman.
Were there a few less actors at the end than at the beginning?
This is the thing. Essentially, this stuntman had some kind of illness. Basically, they said, get in the water with a shark, and he shit his pants. So they said, that's a joke. Yeah. Thank you. So
yeah, thanks. He got the zombie fever.
He said, how much you paid me to jump in the ocean with a tiger shark? Hard pass. Hard pass. So the shark trainer, they put zombie makeup on the shark trainer and had him jump in there. And if you watch, there are scenes where the shark's kind of swimming towards the zombie, and the zombie is like kind of doing like kind of deep blue sea kind of body movements. Like, I'm not gonna let you get too. I'm gonna be a zombie, but I'm gonna be a very wily zombie. I'm not gonna let you just come up and bite my ass. So good times. It was.
God bless you. There should be a special place of honor for the shark.
No question.
But it's still the best part is him just trying to eat the shark. And will it then become a zombie?
That's a question. Shark? We don't know. We don't know how it all works out. This movie was made to kind of cash in on the success of Dawn of the Dead, because Night of the Living Dead was obviously a huge success. Dawn of the Dead was a global phenomenon. It was huge. So the Italians wanted to come up with their own. So they actually hired Lucio Fulci to make this movie to kind of cash in on it. But they went even further than Lucio knew that they were going to do. They, because the original Dawn of the Dead was called Zombie in Italy. So they changed the title of this one from Zombie Flesh Eaters or whatever else to Zombie 2 to make it the sequel. Because
so people think it's a part 2. How is that not
in Italy? It's allowed. So they were constantly doing that. They're constantly doing, here's like the unofficial sequel to whatever was a hot movie. So if you're paying attention, there were literally multiple zombie sequels. There's like Zombie 3, Zombie 4, Zombie 5. There's a bunch of the unrelated.
Unnecessary.
Because in Italy, anything goes. And in some cases, there are multiple Zombie 2s or multiple Zombie 3s. You know what I mean? So everybody's just trying to get a little something.
A little piece of the action.
The the zombie who is on the boat at the beginning of the movie. He, after filming was shooted, he went to a local bar in full zombie makeup, but it was a punk bar, and no one noticed that he was a crazy zombie.
No one noticed.
Even the bartender never looked at him twice. So there you go.
Well, the difference about these zombies were much more kind of desiccated and crunchy versus slimy. Well, they basically
put like layers and layers of kind of this pancake on them. So much so, and then dirt and crud. Lucio Fulci.
Yeah, they were crusty.
Lucio Fulci described them as walking flower pots, essentially, because it was just dirt and crud all over them. The zombies in this movie were modeled that they wanted to go back to kind of the Haitian roots. That's why there's that heavy emphasis on voodoo, but they also wanted it in the way the zombies carried themselves, which is why they're doing that thing that you were talking about, where oftentimes their eyes are closed, their heads are down, and their arms are down at their side oftentimes.
I liked it. It was a good look. It was creepy. Especially, like I said, when they're like half comatose eating the dead
lady. No passion, no aggression, just like sleepwalking.
Just mindless. Like the shark. Here it is. Maybe that's why they used the shark. Their eyes just need to roll back and turn black.
Like a doll's eyes.
Like a doll's
The opening scene with the boat in New York and the closing scene with the zombies on the bridge. If you watch that scene, you see the zombies walking on the bridge, but underneath you see traffic just moving normally. Those were added after the fact to again try to tie it into Dawn of the Dead, make it America. Much like exactly like it's an American thing. The newspaper office scene was filmed in a busy office building, and at one point the cast and crew inadvertently interrupted a meeting held by Rupert Murdoch, who angrily kicked them out.
I love that.
It all ties it together.
Why didn't the zombie come and take out Rupert Murdoch?
As shown in trailers before the film was released, airline barf bags were handed out to theater moviegoers due to the unusually high amount of violence and gore for a horror film at that time. Like that was part of their press release.
You.
Barf bags will be available.
Oh, that's a William Castle stunt. But in this case, it was seriously needed because I almost threw up. I had a belly full of greasy popcorn, and it was starting to come back up.
As we know, as in most of these Italian films, you had a handful of English-speaking actors and then a bunch of Italian-speaking actors, and they dub everybody. So Ian McCullough, Tisa Farrow, Olga Carlotos, Stefania DiMario were of the main English-speaking cast, while Al Cleaver, Aretta Gay, and Dakar were of the main Italian-speaking cast. And if you notice, some people are just speaking Italian, and then they just dub them. Some people are speaking just phonetic English, where they don't really know what the hell they're saying.
Yeah.
But it's always an interesting treat watching these Italian films with the crazy dubbing. Very sad.
It's classic. I noticed, remember when Susan got killed? Her husband couldn't give a f***. He literally had zero emotion.
He was over pretty quick.
He was just like, He was like, well, there's a lot of other naked Italian ladies.
It's a sad situation. I think that's about it. Shall we talk about the cast?
Lay it on me.
The cast for the glorious zombie. You've got Tisa Farrow, who we discussed was Mia Farrow's little sister. You know her from Manhattan. She was a party guest, the Woody Allen film.
Okay.
I love it. Hard to get.
See, that was my dream. You were going to get famous and you'd be like John Cusack, where you would just shove me in the background. I cannot make a film unless there's minor roles for
I
my
need Joan and
sisters.
Anne in there if I'm going to be in a movie.
I'm the Joan, of course.
She was also in Zombie, something called Fingers. She was in Anthropophagus, which was another Italian movie, but this was about a crazed cannibal on an abandoned island. So that's good because
All right, I have to interrupt you. The Pharaoh sisters.
Yeah.
There's Mia, Prudence, Tisa, Stephanie, and
you know
Felice,
don't you? Ian.
You may continue.
Tisa Farrow played Anne Bowles, and Ian McCullough played Peter West, the British reporter. You know him from Zombie. Yes. He was on a hit British TV show called Survivors. He was a writer on something called I Don't Feel at Home. And he was also in another crazy Italian flick called Contamination. I remember that one. That was a Joe D'Amato film, another crazy Italian offering. Richard Johnson.
I haven't seen
played
that.
Dr. Menard. You know him. He's a British actor. He's from The Haunting, the original black and white version.
All right.
With the
okay. Oh, he's the doctor.
See?
All right.
He was in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which was
oh my God! I just read that book last year. I did not expect that ending.
And that movie came out in 2008. He was in Zombie. He was in Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
There you go. That's right up your alley.
Good times. Let's see. Do you want to know about any of the other British cast? or sorry,
any of the Italians and anything Argento? Anybody in anything Argento related?
Al Cliver played Brian, the bearded guy who doesn't really care that his girl's just been murdered. Zombie.
Yeah, the Scandinavian-looking Italian. He must be Northern Italian.
He was in something called Endgame in 1983. He was in something called Laura in 1976. That seems like an erotic thriller of some sort. And in 1983, he was in something called 2020 Texas Gladiator. You know it, don't you?
Oh, Lord. He is famous. He's rocking
Susan was played by Oretta Gay, another Italian actress. You know her from...
I didn't think she was Italian, but go ahead. But she was naked enough to be Italian.
She was in Zombie, something called Ombre. She was in Brillantina Rock and something called The Good Thief. Although in Italian, it's Il Ladrona. You know it, don't you?
All right.
I mean, I can go on and on. It's just crazy.
All I asked were any of these knuckleheads in any of our Argento films.
Do you want me to keep scrolling through and see? There's 30 people in the cast.
Oh my God, I'm going to jump through the internet and just assault you like a zombie.
Let's see. Okay,
all right, we give surrender.
Let's take a look at, because we're already at 105 minutes. So, sorry, an hour, 105. We're already at 3 days.
What's happening? A 3-hour tour.
Zombie Flesh Eaters on Rotten Tomatoes currently has 41% rotten based upon 27 reviews. Do you know what the audience gave it?
100% fresh.
69% fresh. Because
69, of course they gave it that.
69, dude. Well, the thing about it is it's a self-selecting group, right? People who'd be inclined to watch this are, of course, going to like it. I'm looking at the top critics, and let's see. There's no Roger Ebert. There's no Rex Reed. Kim Newman from Empire Magazine says, a few memorable scenes, but this doesn't keep up the pace or plausibility sufficiently. 2 out of 5. Boom. Nick Shager of Lessons of Darkness, you know, don't you? Says, achieves a ghastly sort of brilliance. Score B+. So there you go. What is?
This is a hard one. Yeah, it's a hard one for me to rate because you have to factor in the childhood trauma. You get extra points for terrorizing young children. But the acting is shit. The story doesn't make a lot of sense. And yet, it has a zombie fighting a shark.
It's hard.
All right.
Take a minute.
Oh, take Lord. I'm going to take a minute. I think my childhood trauma is going to make this much more terrifying than it really is. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5.5.
4 out of 5.5. What kind of
sharks fighting zombies, zombies trying to eat sharks, and no rape.
So just to be clear, you gave it 4 out of 5.5 stars. Is that correct? Sweet, that's a higher score than I'm giving. I didn't think you'd go that high. I'm going to give.
I'm basing it all on my trauma, on the trauma scale.
I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 eyeballs from the naked woman taking a shower from a giant picture window for the villagers to appreciate. I find it's such a slow burn. You know what I mean? It really isn't. I know you found it disturbing, and I could see why you would. There's those few moments, the eyeball scene, the poor woman is then eaten alive at that point. Her gore and viscera, very disturbing. If you literally,
I think I'd seen Night of the Living Dead. I think I had already seen Night of the Living Dead. And then this was the second one. But it's possible that I hadn't seen Night of the Living Dead. So this might have been my first exposure.
If you literally took 2 minutes out of this movie, it's basically, PG-13, in my opinion. It is. There's those 2 scenes. Because again, even in Return of the Living Dead, there are multiple scenes that are very disturbing. Right?
So the 2 scenes are the eye skewer and the Death Eaters.
Yes. If you got rid of those 2 scenes, the rest of it is not that. It's really not that gruesome. It really isn't. You know what I mean? So and I'm never afraid.
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many zombies, frankly. You know what I mean? When the zombies are coming into the.
Oh my God! I don't know how you say that. My heart is racing.
Because you have childhood trauma. I saw it when I was 20.
I think you're trigger warning. Trigger warning. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I don't know if I'd never seen it before, and I just watched it, what I would say. I mean, it's definitely not as horrifying as I remember it.
Right. Well, and that's horrifying. The thing is, it's definitely disgusting. More upsetting if you don't know those scenes are coming. Like we knew that the eyeball scene was coming, so on some level we're like mentally we're girded up to prepare for it. If you don't know that's coming,
I was like, don't look away, Aaron. You're gonna watch the whole thing, because for all I know, they cut short. Because I'd covered up my eyes and curled up in a ball and sobbed softly in the theater. But no, they don't. They just go in there and goo drips out.
No question. It's a Fulci, it's a signature.
It's a Fulci fiasco.
No question. I think this is a movie for your serious zombie files, essentially. If you consider yourself something.
Yeah, I think some of the podcasters have talked about how they love it. It's hysterical.
It's hysterical. I think it was on my top 5 list that we just did not long ago on the Movie Loot. It was in my top 5. Now, I hadn't seen it in a while. Yeah. I don't know if it would still be in my top 5, in all honesty.
Now, did you watch this one with the kids
Invited some neighbor children over. We all watched it together. It was good times.
Trick or treat. Full-size candy bar if you come and watch a little Fulci.
No, it's... Like I've said, I've seen 4 Fulci movies in total. And my opinion is, in general, there are a couple scenes that make you go like, eee, but not too bad, with the exception of City of the Living Dead, also known as the Gates of Hell, that has multiple disgusting, like rough scenes. I don't know if I'd sit and watch that one. I'm taking a pass on that one.
So that is the most disgusting in your pyramid of disgusting Fulci films. City of the Dead is your apex.
Now, I haven't seen all of his work. Prior to Zombie, he had done primarily like giallo type things or action films. Zombie is what kind of turned his corner into straight horror. And I guess that kind of carried him through for the rest of his career. So, good times. So, thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast TWDie. Aaron, are we on Instagram?
We are on the gram. We are The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. We're on the Ticker Talker. We are on The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. We're on the Snapchat. That's Kevin.
We are not on Snapchat.
And the on the Parlay.
No, we're not
on whatever the hell.
We're not on Truth Social. We're on none of those things. So just don't ask.
I'm Imaginary Metal on the Reddit. So there you go.
Good times. Remember, you can email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So make sure you like, share, rate, and review, won't you? Aaron,
review.
Do you have social media of your own?
Yes. Much media. Oh my God. I'm posting more now. Because sometimes I'm just tired and I just want to watch 90 Day Fiancé. But I am on the media. So I am on the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron Join the Cult. I am Don't Feed the Pigeon. I am on the Twitski at Queen Aaron. I am on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Buy something, won't you? The holidays are coming. And I want to keep the fire burning in my house.
I want some more.
Please.
Yes, very much so. Lovely. Next week, we're going back to the crazy Italian cinema. We're going to do the latest from Dario Argento. We're doing his latest. It's called Dark Glasses. But it's also called something else in Italian. What is it called in Italian, Aaron? Do you remember? Glasses,
something.
You can watch it only if you have AMC Plus app or the Shudder app. I have to say, I love the Shudder app. I just got it for a month for the Halloween season, so I can watch Joe Bob, and that's how I watch Zombie. Exactly. So check that out. I've never seen it. Aaron has never seen it. It could be outrageous. Who's to say? Check it out. Send in any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, questions, or comments, and we may talk about it on the show. Aaron, what's up?
I did check briefly, and I do believe the rating is higher than Zombie.
Shocking. So thank you very much, and be well.
Hey, kids, don't take that fentanyl. Just so you know.